Now, it must be further noticed that you, as a three-brained being who has arose on the planet Caritas, are at the present time still only a boy of 12 years, and in respect of being and of reason, you are exactly like a boy of 12 on the planet Earth, who has not yet been formed and who is not yet cognizant of himself, through which being age all the three-brained beings arising there also live during the process of their growing up to the being of a responsible being. All the features of the whole of your psyche, what are called your character, temperament, inclinations, and, in short, all the particularities of your psyche, which are manifested exteriorly, are exactly the same as those of a still immature and pliant three-brained being there of the age of 12 years. And so, it follows, from all that has been said, that although, according to our time calculations, you are still only like a boy of 12 there on the planet Earth, who is not yet formed and not yet cognizant of himself, yet according to their subjective understanding and their being sensations of the flow of time, you have already existed by their time calculation, not 12 years, but the whole of 4,668 years. Thanks to all I have said, you will have material for the clarification of certain of those factors which were later the cause that the average proper normal duration of their existence began gradually to diminish, and that it has now already become in the objective sense almost nothing. Strictly speaking, this gradual diminution of the average length of the existence of the three-brained beings of that ill-fated planet, which has finally brought the whole of the duration of their existence to nothing, did not have one cause but many and very varied causes. And among these many and varied causes, the first and the chief one is of course that nature had to adapt herself correspondingly gradually to change their presences to those they now have. And concerning all the rest of the causes, justice demands that I should first of all emphasize that on that ill-fated planet, these causes might never have arisen had that first cause not occurred there, from which, at least in my opinion, they all chiefly ensued, though of course very gradually. Concerning all this you will understand in the course of further talks of mine about these three-brained beings, and meanwhile I will tell you only of the first and chief cause, namely, why and how great nature herself was compelled to take stock of their presences, and to form them into such new presences. You must first be told that there exists in the universe generally two kinds or two principles of the duration of being existence. The first kind or first principle of being existence, which is called Phulastitzmanian, is proper to the existence of all three-brained beings arising on any planet of our great universe, and the fundamental aim and sense of the existence of these beings is that there must proceed through them the transmutation of cosmic substances necessary for what is called the common cosmic trogoautoegocratic process. And it is according to the second principle of being existence that all one-brained and two-brained beings in general exist wherever they may arise. And the sense and aim of the existence of these beings also consists in this, that there are transmuted through them the cosmic substances required not for purposes of a common cosmic character, but only for that solar system, or even only for that planet alone, in which and upon which these one-brained and two-brained beings arise. In any case, for the further elucidation of the strangeness of the psyche of those three-brained beings who have taken your fancy, you must know this also, that, in the beginning, after the organ kunda buffer, with all its properties, had been removed from their presences, the duration of their existence was according to the Phulastitzmanian principle, that is to say, they were obliged to exist until there was coded in them and completely perfected by reason what is called the body Kesjan, or, as they themselves later began to name this being part of theirs, of which, by the way, contemporary beings know only by hearsay the astral body. And so, my boy, when later, for reasons of which you will learn in the course of my further tales, they began to exist already excessively abnormally, that is to say, quite unbecomingly for three-brained beings, and when, in consequence of this, they had on the one hand ceased to emanate the vibrations required by nature for the maintenance of the separated fragments of their planet, and, on the other hand, had begun, owing to the chief peculiarity of their strange psyche, to destroy beings of other forms of their planet, thereby gradually diminishing the number of sources required for this purpose, then nature herself was compelled gradually to actualize the presences of these three-brained beings according to the second principle, namely, the principle itoklanos, that is, to actualize them in the same way in which she actualizes one-brained and two-brained beings, in order that the equilibrium of the vibrations required according to quality and quantity should be attained. As regards the meaning of the principle itoklanos, I shall also specially explain it to you some time. And meanwhile, remember that although the fundamental motives for the diminution of the duration of the existence of the three-brained beings of this planet were from causes not depending on them, yet, nevertheless, subsequently, the main grounds for all the sad results were, and particularly now continue to be, the abnormal conditions of external ordinary being existence, established by them themselves. Owing to these conditions, the duration of their existence has, down to the present time, continued to become shorter and shorter, and now is already diminished to such a degree that, at the present time, the difference between the duration of the process of the existence of the three-brained beings of other planets in the whole of the universe and the duration of the process of the existence of the three-brained beings of the planet Earth has become the same as the difference between the real duration of their existence and the duration of the existence of the infinitesimal beings in that drop of water we took as an example. You now understand, my boy, that even the most great hero-pass of time has also been compelled to actualize obvious absurdities in the presences of these unfortunate three-brained beings who arise and exist on this ill-fated planet. And, thanks to all I have just explained to you, you can put yourself in the position and understand the although merciless, yet always and in everything just hero-pass. Having said these last words, Beelzebub became silent, and when he again spoke to his grandson, he said with a heavy sigh, "Eek, my dear boy, later, when I shall have told you more about the three-brained beings of that ill-fated planet Earth, you yourself will understand and form your own opinion about everything. You yourself will very well understand that although the fundamental causes of the whole chaos that now reigns on that ill-fated planet Earth were certain unforeseennesses coming from above on the part of various sacred individuals, yet nevertheless the chief causes for the developing of further ills are only those abnormal conditions of ordinary being existence which they themselves gradually established and which they continue to establish down to the present time. In any case, my dear boy, when you learn more about these favorites of yours, not only, I repeat, will you clearly see how pitiably small the duration of the existence of these unfortunates has gradually become in comparison with that normal duration of existence which has already long ago been established as a law for every kind of three-centered being of the whole of our universe. But you will also understand that in these unfortunates, for the same reasons, there has gradually begun to disappear, and at the present time are quite absent in them, any normal being sensations whatever concerning any cosmic phenomenon, although the beings of that ill-fated planet arose, according to conventionally objective time reckoning, many decades ago. Not only have they not as yet any being sensation of cosmic phenomenon such as proper to all three-centered beings of the whole of our universe to have, but there is not in the reason of these unfortunates even an approximate representation of the genuine causes of these phenomena. They have not an approximately correct representation even of those cosmic phenomenon that proceed on their own planet round about them. I'm just going to read one section of this over again because I think it was very important. Let me just find it here. And so, my boy, when later, for reasons of which you will learn in the course of my further tales, they began to exist already excessively abnormally, that is to say, quite unbecomingly for three-brained beings, and when, in consequence of this, they had on the one hand ceased to emanate the vibrations required by nature for the maintenance of the separated fragments of their planet, and on the other hand had begun, owing to the chief peculiarity of their strange psyche, to destroy beings of other forms of their planet, thereby gradually diminishing the number of sources required for this purpose, then nature herself was compelled gradually to actualize the presences of these three-brained beings according to the second principle, namely, the principle itoklanos, that is, to actualize them in the same way in which she actualizes one-brained and two-brained beings, in order that the equilibrium of the vibrations required according to quality and quantity should be attained. So, I think this is a really important little segment that explains a lot. So from the text it says, maintenance of the separated fragments of their own planet. So this would be, as we learned earlier, the moon, obviously, which broke off from the earth, according to Beelzebub, and also Anulios, which was the second, you could call a second moon. So from my understanding, what he's saying here is that after the comet condor smashed into Earth and the three-brain beings, us on Earth, were then required to maintain the moon and Anulios through our emanations, and the higher sacred beings cognized and decided that if we understood that the sole purpose, if we were to come to the understanding that the sole purpose of our existence here on Earth was only to maintain by our emanations of living here the existence of the moon and Anulios, that we would collectively kill ourselves, we would off ourselves. That's what it says earlier in one of the chapters. And so that was the reason why they had that sacred council to come here and implant that organ kunda buffer in our presence. And that organ kunda buffer is what made, according to Beelzebub's tales, us so different from every other three-brained being on every other planet. If I remember correctly, it said that that organ caused us to see topsy-turvy everything. So basically, rather than perceiving reality more closely to what it is, it completely shifted our perception of reality. So then when they came back here and removed the organ, we still had, as Gurdjieff says in the text, the consequences of that organ kunda buffer had crystallized in the presences in us, even back in the days of Atlantis. So, and then back to this little segment, owing to the chief peculiarity of their strange psyche, to destroy beings of other forms of their planet, thereby gradually diminishing the number of sources required for this purpose. Then nature herself was compelled gradually to actualize the presences of these three-brained beings according to that second principle. So, because of our abnormal condition here, we're killing all sorts of other one and two brain beings. We're killing each other in wars. And through this abnormality, we were then not producing, the three brain beings on Earth were not producing the necessary emanations. So this could be, whatever type of emanation, whether it be thought, emotion, action, any sort of, metaphysical energy that was required by not only the moon and Anulios, but nature herself, of our planet. So, from my understanding, in the past, we probably lived much, much longer. So like even in the Bible, it says, Noah lived, or I think Enoch lived over 900 years, and Methuselah, Enos, a lot of his kin were living upwards of 900 years. So it's interesting to think how that sort of lines up with this, because back then we were living much longer, probably, living more in accordance with nature, less topsy-turvy. And then, nature, it says here, nature herself had to shorten our lifespan because of our, the way we were killing other animals, killing each other. So through our own actions, disrupted the necessary emanations for, maintenance in our solar system of the moon and Nucleus and our own planet. So just wanted to point that out. Those are some of my own comments and impressions, but all right, thanks.